The U.S. administration warns the Congress that passing new sanctions would undermine efforts to achieve a peaceful resolution of the West's standoff with Iran over its nuclear program. White House spokesman Jay Carney says the passage of new sanctions would be seen as a show of, quote, bad faith by U.S. partners abroad. He stated that any new sanctions would give the Iranians, quote, an excuse, unquote, to push the terms of the Geneva nuclear agreement to the side. The latest push by the White House comes as several groups of Republican and Democratic senators are making efforts to target Iran with a new set of sanctions. Carney added that if Tehran failed to abide by the terms of the deal, the White House would support new sanctions against the country. According to last month's Geneva deal, the U.S. and its Western partners made a commitment to refrain from imposing new sanctions for 6 months. James Jatras, former U.S. Senate policy analyst, joins me from Washington for his thoughts. Welcome, sir. Mr. Jatras, just how truthful and serious is the U.S. towards this agreement?
Well, I think there is a split in the American establishment. Clearly, the White House does not want to see new sanctions for the reasons that you quoted, Mr. Carney, that they believe it would undermine this interim agreement. At the same time, there are many in Congress, in both parties, who believe that Tehran is simply playing for time with this interim agreement and has no intention of restraining its nuclear program to the extent they think is appropriate. Clearly, our close allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, are of the same mind.
And of course, do you think those radicals in the Congress can eventually prevent a permanent deal with Iran?
I think the question is an open one right now. We will have to see over the next few weeks whether there's enough strength in the Congress to enact new sanctions. Of course, those would have to be passed over President Obama's veto, which I think would be very difficult indeed. So I'm not sure that would be possible.
And what do you think about the influence of the Israeli lobbies on the Congress?
The Israeli lobby and the lobby for Saudi Arabia and other countries that may be opposed to this deal are going to be quite active, and I think this will be a test of strength for them. Let's remember that there was very strong support for an authorization to use force against Syria, and that support collapsed in the Congress. I think they will be able to show greater strength on this issue, but I think the question is an open one right now.
And how do you think the other members of the P5+1 will look on Washington if it's going to go with these sanctions?
The polls show that the American people, a pretty substantial majority, are for this nuclear interim agreement with Iran, and a very strong majority is against any kind of a military confrontation with Iran. So I think people can put two and two together, that the chance that this interim agreement could lead to something substantial and avoid a military question is a desirable one, and even the administration says it would favor additional sanctions if this interim agreement does not work out.
James Jatras, former U.S. Senate policy analyst from Washington, thanks for your time.